Time, as you know, flies, and memories just seem to vanish. A lot of things have happened in the past, and I felt it's important to take you back in time 10 years to 2007. To put perspective on the difference 10 years makes, the President of the United States was George W. Bush. It was also the same year that Steve Jobs would announce the first iPhone. So for this video, I wanted to give you a simulation as if this is actually taking place in 2007. With predictions that were actually pretty common and show how much differently things can turn out. Before we jump into the simulation, I gotta give a quick shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. If you guys are planning on going to any games or events this year, just use the app SeatGeek. I know I'm trying to go to a few NFL games this year, so I'm definitely using it. SeatGeek is an app that puts tickets from all over the web in a single place, making the whole buying experience simple. They rate these deals on a scale of 1 to 100, with the higher the number, the better the deal. And if you use my promo code KTO, you will get $20 off your first purchase. So I'm going to drop the link in the description. Honestly, you might as well just get the app just in case. You don't want to lose out on cheap tickets. Now, let's get into this simulation. Here is my version of an NFL preview show in 2007. Let's do a quick recap of what happened last year. In the Super Bowl, for the first time ever, the opening kickoff was returned for a touchdown by Devin Hester. But even with opening fireworks, the Bears couldn't do enough to stop Peyton Manning from getting his first ring. So today it's August 20th, 2007, and we are in the midst of the NFL preseason. And we actually have some pretty breaking news. Michael Vick has pleaded guilty to a federal felony dogfighting conspiracy charge. And shortly thereafter, the NFL has suspended Vick indefinitely for violating its player conduct policy. Wow. It's going to be weird seeing the Falcons without Michael Vick. Well, that kind of sucks for Bobby Petrino. He's going to have to figure out what to do with the other quarterbacks on the roster. In other NFL news, in case you forgot, Nick Saban is no longer the coach of the Miami Dolphins, even after he made a statement to the press mentioning he was not going to coach for Alabama. Well, turns out even though he coached for interconference foe LSU, he is now the head coach for the Crimson Tide, who was pretty awful in 2006. Also in coaching news, Bill Cowher has announced his retirement, and the Steelers have decided to replace him with the defensive coordinator from Minnesota, Mike Tomlin. The hype has picked up tremendously for the NFL with the release of Madden 08 last week. I got it on the Xbox 360 and it looks amazing. It definitely feels like we have entered the next gen. I thought it was pretty cool looking through the stats. Devin Hester has 100 speed. Okay, let's go back to the actual NFL. In rookie news, the number 1 overall pick, Jamarcus Russell, has stirred a ton of interest and raised a few eyebrows. His measurables are jaw-dropping. The size, the strength, and he has a cannon. The man can throw a football on his knees through the uprights from the 50-yard line. That alone should get football fans excited to see what he can do. But with contract disputes, he hasn't been participating in camp, and he hasn't accepted his massive rookie contract. According to this article posted by ESPN's John Clayton, veteran Dante Culpepper has been looking pretty impressive in camp. So if Jamarcus holds out past the start of the season, head coach Lane Kiffin can roll with either Josh McCown or Dante Culpepper. For another rookie quarterback, Brady Quinn has played lights out so far this preseason. And here's the crazy stat of the day. The Browns have had 10 different starting quarterbacks since 1999. As a Browns fan, I can't imagine it getting much worse than that. For fantasy football news, the obvious number 1 pick is Ladainian Tomlinson. He's coming off one of the greatest single seasons that I've ever seen. On the ground alone, he had 1,800 yards and 28 rushing touchdowns, which by the way is an NFL record. And alongside that, he's also a major threat in the pass game. So yeah, he should obviously be the first guy you pick this season. Here's my mid-round sleeper, Vince Young. After winning the national title at Texas, he came in and won Rookie of the Year in Tennessee, also making the Pro Bowl. He's still working out the kinks in the pass game, but he is well on his way to being one of the future faces of the NFL. Now looking at sleepers at wideout, Randy Moss, now playing for New England, could be very interesting. To summarize this ESPN article, he should be a pretty solid second or third option in a really good offense. But I see him bouncing back and catching a bunch of touchdowns. I'm not saying he's going to break records or anything, but he should be solid. Let's just look at overall player rankings. Here's the list for quarterbacks. Peyton Manning's coming off one of his best seasons yet. And a little bit further down the list, Jay Cutler could be in for a big year in Denver. Now, let's look at running backs. Larry Johnson led the league in carries last year, so it'll be interesting to see if they give him the same workload. Reggie Bush had pretty good stats last year, but it was underwhelming considering how dominant he was in college. Right now, he's more of a pass catcher out of the backfield for the Saints. For receivers, the best 1-2 punch right now has got to be Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. And looking further down south, Terrell Owens had a solid year in his first season at Dallas. Dallas has potential to be pretty good this year, with their young quarterback Tony Romo. To look at the NFL season preview, it's overwhelmingly about the Patriots. The AFC is pretty stacked at the top, but it seems like the Patriots are unbeatable, and number 2 and number 3 seem to be the only teams who can possibly have a chance against them. Let's drop down all the way to number 20. The New York Giants, as this article puts it, are the least likely playoff team from last season to return to the playoffs. My reasonable prediction for the Super Bowl would have to be the Patriots versus the Saints. The Saints have now found their answer at quarterback Drew Brees. Overall, this should be a very exciting football season. Okay, now we're out of the simulation. Let me take you to the week building up to the Super Bowl. The Patriots are 18-0. Even though the AFC Championship wasn't easy for them, as expected, they are representing the AFC. The NFC was a story of the underdog Giants. They fought through a ton of adversity throughout the season and throughout the playoffs. In the NFC Championship, they pulled off a major overtime upset. We had our unlikely rematch, because if you look back to week 17, we had a back and forth game where the Giants hung around.
And they're gaining praise around the league. They're to be commended for their fine effort against New England.
What is this a rip in here?
But they lost.
Even though the Giants had hung around in the game previous, a lot of people had counted them out. They were a 12.5 point underdog. They had already been beaten by them once. And who was going to slow down this guy after his record-setting year? Well, you don't need me to retell the story.
Direct snap to Manning. Back to throw. The rush. Gonna be hit. Gonna be sacked. No, he got out of it. Now he fires downfield, and it is caught at the 24-yard line. How in the world did he do that?
Tyree had Harrison all over him. The ball was on his helmet, but he got his other hand on it and pulled it in.